The night Helena Pryce buried her past, someone slipped a letter beneath her door. It carried no return address, only 3 words. I remember everything. The rain had started before dawn, slow and deliberate, as if the sky itself wanted to rinse the city clean before morning traffic reclaimed it. Through the tall windows of her apartment on Westmere Avenue, Helena Pryce watched the droplets trace erratic paths down the glass. She held a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. The steam had vanished, much like the warmth that used to define her mornings. Her reflection stared back, a 36-year-old woman with a kind of beauty that didn't shout, but whispered. Sharp eyes, quiet poise, and a stillness that suggested she'd learned to survive storms without showing the wreckage. She glanced at the framed photograph on her kitchen counter, her younger self laughing beside Ethan Pryce, her late husband. The picture was 8 years old, taken during their trip to Marseille, before the crash that ended everything. Helena had built a life since then, or at least something that resembled one. A successful interior architect, known for restoring forgotten spaces and giving them second lives. People admired her vision, her restraint, her ability to see potential where others saw ruin. What they didn't know was that every space she transformed felt like an apology to herself for the life she couldn't rebuild. That morning, she had no plans to leave her apartment, yet fate rarely asked for permission. By 9, her phone buzzed with a call from Margot Lane, her longtime assistant and closest friend. "Hell, are you watching the news?" Margot's voice carried both excitement and unease. "No," Helena said, setting down the cup. "Should I be?" "You probably should," Margot replied. "It's about Pryce Holdings." The name hit Helena like a cold wave. Her late husband's company, the empire that had been sold after his death, swallowed by investors and rebranded under new management. She hadn't heard the name spoken in months, maybe years, not without that sting of unfinished grief. "What about it?" Helena asked, her tone careful. "There's been a shakeup," Margot said. "A big one. Someone leaked financial files. Massive fraud. It's all over the morning feed." Helena's fingers tensed against the counter. The name Pryce on a scandal headline, she didn't need that again. Margot continued. Apparently, the new CEO's implicated. Lucas Marin. The one who bought Ethan's shares from the estate. Helena knew the name. Everyone in the corporate world did. Lucas Marin, the charming, brilliant investor with a reputation for taking over failing firms and turning them into gold. She'd met him once, briefly, at a charity gala. His charm had been effortless, but so was his arrogance. "I suppose karma doesn't need an invitation," Helena murmured. Margot sighed. "Hell, don't get involved. I know that look. Just stay out of it this time, okay?" Helena smiled faintly. "Who says I'm getting involved?" "Because I know you," Margot said. "You still think the world owes Ethan justice. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's done." Helena's gaze drifted to the rain-streaked window again. "Maybe," she said softly. But she didn't believe that. Not entirely. By afternoon, curiosity had won. She sat at her desk, scrolling through reports. Pryce Holdings, renamed Marin and Pryce 2 years ago, was collapsing under allegations of asset manipulation, offshore accounts, and falsified audits. It should have felt satisfying. It didn't. Because buried inside one of the leaked documents was a name she hadn't expected to see. Ethan Pryce. Her late husband's name. Her pulse quickened as she opened the PDF. The file listed multiple shell companies established after Ethan's death, and yet, somehow, his signature appeared on several authorizations. It made no sense. Ethan was gone. She'd seen the wreckage. She'd attended the funeral. The world tilted for a moment, the past bleeding into the present. She didn't notice the knock at her door until the second one came, louder this time. When she opened it, a tall man in a raincoat stood there, water dripping from his hair. "Helena Pryce?" he asked, holding up an ID. "Detective Aaron Calder. May I come in?" Her stomach tightened. "Detective? What is this about?" "It's about your husband," he said, stepping into the light. "Ethan Pryce." Helena's breath caught. "That's not possible. Ethan's been dead for 8 years." Calder studied her expression. That's what I thought too. But we've found something you need to see. He set a folder on her table, opening it carefully. Inside were photos, surveillance stills taken in Prague 2 months ago. The man in the pictures looked older, thinner, but unmistakably Ethan Pryce. Helena's knees weakened. She gripped the edge of the counter. "This isn't real," she whispered. Calder said nothing. "Where did you get these?" she demanded. "Interpol flagged them during a financial tracking operation. Your husband, or whoever this man is, accessed an encrypted account connected to Marin and Pryce's missing assets." Helena stared at the images again, her world spinning faster than her thoughts could catch up. "Ethan alive? After all this time?" The detective continued. "We believe he's connected to the current financial scandal. We don't know how deep it goes. But if he's alive, someone wanted you to think he wasn't." Helena's heart pounded. "Why show me this?" "Because you're listed as the beneficiary on several accounts recently reactivated under his name," Calder said. "And that makes you part of this investigation." She sank onto a chair. "You're saying I'm being investigated?" "Not yet," he replied calmly. "But I need you to be careful, Miss Pryce. Someone out there is watching both of you." That night, Helena couldn't sleep. The city lights bled through her curtains in fractured patterns. She replayed every memory, the laughter, the arguments, the crash, the funeral, wondering how much of it had been real. At 2 a.m., her phone buzzed. A private number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." A voice, low and strained, came through the static. "Helena?" She froze. Her throat tightened. "Who is this?" "You know who," the voice said softly. Her heart stopped. That voice, deep, calm, unforgettable. Ethan's voice. Her hand trembled so violently, she almost dropped the phone. "This isn't funny," she said. "Whoever you are." "I'm sorry," the voice interrupted. "For everything. But you need to get out. Tonight." "What are you talking about?" "They know you've seen the files," the voice said urgently. "Don't trust anyone. Not the police. Not Marin. Leave now." The call ended. Helena stood motionless, her pulse thundering in her ears. The city outside was silent except for the hum of distant traffic. She looked again at the photo on the counter, her husband smiling in the sun, the man she buried 8 years ago. And for the first time in years, Helena Pryce wasn't sure what, or who, she believed in anymore. The city had never felt so loud. Every car passing below Helena's balcony sounded like it was tracking her. Every flicker of light in the windows opposite looked like a camera lens. She had packed a small leather bag, passport, cash, and a flash drive she didn't remember owning but had found slipped under her door that morning. A single note was taped to it. For when you can't trust anyone. She couldn't bring herself to call Detective Calder. His warning echoed in her mind. Someone's watching both of you. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and mirror-bright. Helena pulled up her hood and stepped outside. She didn't have a plan, only a direction, away from the life that had become a trap of glass and shadows. At the train station, she sat among travelers, trying to disappear into the crowd. Her phone vibrated again. A text appeared from an unknown number. "Locker 42, Platform B. Take it and go west." Her pulse hammered. She hesitated only a second before moving. The locker key was taped behind the vending machine exactly as described. Inside lay an envelope, a flash drive twin to the first, and a photograph. Ethan, standing in front of an old European cafe, eyes shielded by sunglasses, a date stamped in the corner. 2 months ago. On the back of the photo, a single word was written in Ethan's handwriting. Trust. Helena's throat tightened. If this was real, if Ethan was alive, then everything she'd mourned had been a lie. She boarded the next train westbound, clutching the envelope like oxygen. Halfway through the journey, a man in a charcoal coat sat across from her. Mid-40s, sharp gaze, the kind of presence that felt too deliberate. "Long trip?" he asked. Helena gave a polite nod. "Visiting family." He smiled faintly. "Strange thing. People always say that when they're running from something." Her stomach dropped. Excuse me? He leaned back, showing a badge for the briefest moment. Calder. You left without telling me. Helena exhaled shakily. You followed me. I protected you, he corrected. The call you got last night. Did he use the word they? She nodded. Then he's not lying, Calder said. Marin's people are cleaning the house. Whatever your husband discovers, they think you have it. Helena showed him the flash drives. These were sent to me. I haven't opened them. Good, he said. Because whoever controls that data controls the company, and a lot of powerful men want it buried. Helena studied his face. You sound like you know more than you're allowed to say. I've been chasing Marin's operation for 3 years, he said quietly. But your husband, if he's alive, he was my source. The words hit her harder than she expected. Ethan worked with you? Calder nodded. He faked his death to infiltrate Marin's network. Something went wrong. I thought he was gone for good until that photo surfaced. Helena turned to the window, tears mixing with disbelief. All this time, I mourned him. Calder's voice softened. He did it to protect you. They arrived at an abandoned villa on the outskirts of a coastal town. The storm had followed them, waves thrashing against the rocks below. Inside, dust hung in the air like memory. Calder set up his laptop and inserted one flash drive while Helena watched the doorway, nerves strung tight. Lines of code filled the screen, followed by folders labeled Marin Offshore, Private. Inside were hundreds of documents, bank transfers, property deeds, encrypted messages, all linking Marin and Pryce to shell corporations laundering government funds. Then a video file appeared at the top, ep_final.mov. Calder clicked it. Ethan's face filled the screen, tired, bruised, but alive. Helena, if you're watching this, I couldn't make it back. Marin found out. The crash 8 years ago wasn't an accident, it was staged. I had to disappear to finish what we started. Everything you need to bring him down is on this drive. But once you open it, you'll never be safe again. Helena pressed a trembling hand to her lips. He knew this would happen. Calder whispered, he saved everything. Then Ethan's tone shifted. There's one person you can trust, Helena, Detective Calder. He's the only one who knew. They exchanged stunned glances. Before either could speak, the villa's power cut out. A second later, a gunshot shattered the window. Calder pulled Helena down behind the couch. They're here. The front door splintered inward. 2 masked men stormed in, silent and precise. The Calder fired once, driving them back toward the entryway. The crack of thunder drowned out the next shot. Helena crawled toward the back hall, clutching the flash drives. She spotted a narrow exit leading to the cliffs. Calder shouted her name, but she was already running, the rain slicing her vision. She could hear footsteps behind her, closer with each stride. The ground gave way to a stone terrace overlooking the sea. She turned. One of the masked men lunged. They struggled, slipping on the wet surface until she rammed her knee into his chest and shoved him backward. He fell into the darkness below. When she turned again, Marin stood a few feet away, holding a gun. Impressive, he said calmly. Ethan always said you were stronger than you looked. Helena steadied her breath. Where is he? Closer than you think, Marin replied. But I'm afraid he made the wrong allies. Those drives, you have no idea what you're carrying. I know enough, she said. He smiled. Then you know I can't let you leave. A shot rang out, but not for Marin. Calder stepped from the shadows, weapon drawn. Marin turned, firing wildly. Calder dropped to one knee, returning fire. Helena ducked behind a pillar as bullets ricocheted. When the smoke cleared, Marin was gone, vanished into the storm. Calder winced, clutching his arm. He'll come back for the data. We have to move. Helena helped him to his feet. Where do we go? He looked at her with grim resolve. To finish what Ethan started. Hours later, at dawn, they reached an airfield. A small plane waited. Helena sat inside, watching the sunrise smear gold across the horizon. She turned the second flash drive in her hand. It felt heavier now, like it contained every lie she'd lived through. Before boarding, she opened Ethan's final encrypted note. It contained only one sentence. If you want the truth, come to Prague. Look for the cafe in the photograph. Her breath caught. The same cafe from the picture in the locker. Calder's voice came from behind. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, Helena said quietly. For 8 years I lived inside a lie. I need to see where it began. He nodded. Then I'm coming with you. 3 days later, they arrived in the old city. The streets shimmered with recent rain, the same way they had in the photo. The cafe stood on a quiet corner, shutters half drawn. Inside, a single man sat at the back table. Helena froze. He looked up, eyes catching hers, older, thinner, but undeniably Ethan. For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then he rose slowly, tears bright in his eyes. Helena, he whispered. She stepped forward, every emotion, grief, rage, love, colliding inside her. You let me bury you. I had to, he said. Marin would have killed you if he knew I was alive. You could have trusted me, she said, voice breaking. I did. That's why you're here. Before she could respond, Calder's phone vibrated. His face went pale. We've been traced. Outside, black vans screeched to a stop. Men in suits poured out. Ethan grabbed Helena's hand. There's a tunnel beneath the cafe. Go. They ran as gunfire erupted above. Dust rained from the ceiling. In the chaos, Helena turned back just long enough to see Ethan shove Calder toward safety before the doorway collapsed between them. Ethan, she screamed. No answer. Only the echo of the blast. Days later, in a safe house outside the city, Helena sat with Calder reviewing the decrypted files. Marin's empire had collapsed. The evidence had gone public. International warrants were issued. But Ethan was gone again, his body never found. As Helena stared out the window at the silent morning, her phone buzzed one final time. A message from an unknown number. The glass veil has shattered. E. She smiled through her tears. The world thought Ethan Pryce was a ghost. Maybe he was. But as long as the truth survived, Helena finally felt alive again. And somewhere beyond the rain, she knew he was watching.